To do a satin stitch for applique, you've got a couple choices, but maybe not the ones you think of. If you just picked a zigzag, stitch number 5, and tried to shorten the stitch length, you're going to notice that it's going to go from 1.0 down to 0. So that means you don't have those small increments in between. And that is because with a Viking, you have built-in satin stitchings. Row 1, stitch number 34, 35, and 36. So let's go up to the stitch menu button. Row 1, and let's just do 35. That's the middle size. We can always go up or down from there. And this stitch is not just a zigzag. It actually goes straight across and then diagonal down. Straight across, diagonal. So it actually makes a prettier satin stitch. Notice what's on the screen. It recommends some stabilizer. Just make sure you have a nice sturdy base to your fabric. And the foot that we're going to use is not your regular foot. Foot A is going to get switched over to foot B. What's the difference? On your foot A, you notice there's just a small cutout where the needle, after the stitch is made, for the stitch to flow back. But when we compare it to foot B, the cutout is all the way through the back of the foot. So no stitches are going to get hung up on this complete open area. So that's why you want to always make sure you recognize what foot is on the recommended for the stitch, and not to leave. I remember I did this when I first started working with these machines, is oftentimes I just leave my B foot on when even though it said A, where A was actually the better foot for a straight stitch, and my stitches were getting a little sloppy underneath. They didn't look real smooth, and that's because they didn't have a nice area. It kind of got, well, it was all open underneath. Here, nice and tight, and those stitches looked much better once I put the foot on that the machine recommended. So foot B. Then as we start to sew, so we'll just go ahead and do our little sewing here, locking stitches first. And you can even see the needle going straight across and then down, straight across and down. It's really a neat, pretty stitch. Notice what the tension is at. It is reduced, so that means my top thread is getting pulled to the back side. So again, I have a nice smooth edge. I don't have the connection of bobbin thread and top thread showing at all on the top of the fabric. Now, if I have thinner thread on, this is a medium thread, so usually that's just fine for what we're working on. But if I had some thinner thread on, I can go ahead and reduce the stitch length because the machine doesn't know what thread is here. So it gets you a nice default setting, and you can really fine tune it and get it to be a little bit thicker. Because you have the B foot on, even a heavier stitch with this medium thread will give us a nice result as we go. Now, if we wanted to make it a little bit wider, we'll just do this while we're sewing. It can go all the way up to 7.0, that's your widest stitch, or down. So even though we were picking the middle size of the satin stitch, you do have a built-in small version, medium version, and larger version, just because of how they set these up. So let's just go ahead, we'll just cut the thread, and look at how pretty of a satin stitch. This is where I was making it extra tight, and boy, that actually feels really thick there. We can even kind of see it from the side angle how much thicker it is. This is nice, but yes, actually that thicker area is kind of feels great. Another little trick is with satin stitching is to use finer thread. It actually is a little bit smoother, doesn't kind of show as much when it gets close together, kind of piled up. It almost makes a smoother edge. Yes, there's more stitches that have to go, but it is a better looking stitch. Have some fun with some variegated threads or even metallic threads. If you need to adjust the tension, speaking of tension, look at the back. We'll kind of get a little closer here, and you can see, I know I have green thread in it, but you can see that all those threads connect on the back side, so we have a perfect, pretty top side to our applique satin stitch.